How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this week's Q&A. So like every other week, if you want a chance at one of your questions being answered, make sure you do drop a comment down below with your questions. And please make sure you guys do, whether or not you think the question may be silly or not a good question or whatever may be from possibly preventing you from asking the question. I'll do my best to try to answer every question. And some of those questions I'll answer directly in the comment section, or some of them I'll make a specific video for them. I know I promised a couple videos and I'm going to be working on them. I just got back from vacation about a week ago. So, still adjusting to back to normal life back here in Jersey. So just give me some time on those videos. I want to make sure I put out some good quality videos and try to be as thorough as possible with those videos. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first question of this week. And it is, what are my thoughts on adding a transmission cooler, obviously for automatic transmissions? And I think it's a great idea. In my opinion, a lot of times transmission failures are due to excessive heat. So as long as you're willing to take the time to do some research and manufacture something along those lines, or maybe adapt something from a different car or a different Honda, obviously in this situation, then I'm all for it. So like I said, I believe in a lot of times, a lot of transmissions fail due to overheating issues. And one perfect example I have is the Heart Racing program with their Odyssey. They have a 10-speed Odyssey. I believe it's like a 2019, 2020. And they ended up blowing fifth gear, and they came down to the conclusion that it was due to the transmission running on a warmer side. So they did adapt a trans cooler, and it was better, although not where they wanted to be. I asked them for specifics, but they didn't want to share them, which is, fine, it's whatever. But they did end up implementing two trans coolers. So I don't know if they couldn't find one that was big enough, or maybe it's just easier to do two smaller ones, or whatever the situation may be. But now they are happy with the trans temperatures, and so that's only more proof to to add to the subject. So yeah, if you think that you're doing some harder driving or a lot of towing, or if you have an Odyssey or a Pilot and you carry a lot of weight or Ridgeline, whatever the case may be, then absolutely you want to keep an eye on those temperatures. And obviously there's no gauge for it, but a lot of times you could do some data reading, and if you have a scanner or something like that, and look at it that way, or add an external sensor just to one of the feed lines or anything like that. So yeah, I do think that is a big issue. And the TLX Type-S does have a trans cooler. I still think it's too small, and eventually I want to try to retrofit something or add in addition to that one. So when that time gets here, I will do that. But hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so the next question is, what are my thoughts on Honda/Acura's 8-speed DCT? And so we don't have this transmission on the Honda side, so I don't have any personal experience with it, although I did talk to some Acura techs, and the question was that initially there was some negative feedback on it, but how's it holding up long term? And it is offered in a ILX as well as the first gen TLX. And so I spoke to a couple Acura guys. They all had good things to say about it, and no negative news. So no news is good news. So I know a lot of people are a fan of these DCTs normally. So like I said, we don't have it on the Honda side, but anything other than Honda 6AT has been pretty reliable. I know the Honda guys don't like the Acura guys don't like the 9-speed ZF transmissions, but we really don't have that many issues with them as well on our side. But to answer your question, yes, no news is good news. 8-speed DCT from a couple of Acura guys that I've spoken to, all gave it a thumbs up with 0 known issues or nothing that was consistently an issue. So hopefully that answers the question for you. So the next question is, what is my least favorite job to do at work? And I really don't have one, although if I had to pick one, I would say it would be brakes. I just don't like doing brakes. They're dirty, they're nasty. I'd rather do anything else with the exception of that. Of course, I'll take it because it's quick money, but we do a lot of rotor resurfacing, especially in my area. So yeah, there's a lot of rotor resurfacing going on. You're breathing in all those shavings. Then over time, that will take an effect on your health. So I've been doing this for over 20 years, and just over 15 years at my current dealer. So that's a lot of brake dust to inhale, a lot of shavings. So just something to consider. And the younger guys laugh at me. I always wear a mask when I do, any sort of brake job, just to try to eliminate all that brake dust and stuff. And regardless, I'll get home and obviously I'll blow my nose or whatever the case may be. And sure enough, there'll be a lot of, nastiness in there versus, a normal day that I don't do any brake jobs. Now, if I happen to do 2 or 3 brake jobs, then forget about it. It's just disgusting. But even with a mask, so without a mask, I could only imagine. But yeah, if I had to pick a job that I really don't like doing, that would be it. And then my favorite job, I would say, would be is like electrical diagnosing and just diagnosing in general. I really find it fascinating, and that's when you really learn how to really repair a car properly. I know a lot of guys shy away from it because A, it's tough, B, it's time consuming, and C, it never pays what it should, but it comes with the job. So but if I could do diagnosing all day and make a livable income, then I would opt to do that 100% for sure than doing just brake jobs all day long. So hopefully that answers the question for you. Next question is, what do I think is more reliable, the newer Hondas or the older Hondas? So obviously there's a lot of issues going on with Honda right now. If you follow my channel, you know this, but when I started, there was definitely a lot of issues going on as well. So it's not like they've gotten worse. I just think they've added a lot more features. So with more bells and whistles in a car, obviously there's more room for failure. So for instance, I started with Honda in 2008. So I'm going to base this off of that era. Obviously I've been around Hondas way before that, but in a dealer environment in 2008 and forward. So when I started, I kid you not, we were about, I want to say 14 line techs, and there was always about 3 to 4 transmissions going on every day. So automatic transmissions rebuilt from Honda, getting installed by us, mostly on Civics, Accords, and Odysseys, some Pilots, some Ridgelines. But yeah, every day we had 3, 4, 5 transmissions going on in the shop. Now we do not see that on a consistent basis. We also did a lot of head gaskets back in the day on the D17s and the F23 motors, which are like the 98 to 02 Accord. So we did a ton of those. And so the issues were there, just on a different scale or different issues versus what we see today. Nowadays, we're seeing a lot of electrical issues. We're seeing a lot of head gasket issues and some transmission issues, not nearly as bad as it was. Now we're almost double the techs, and we still don't see as many transmission failures as we did see. So that's just a couple of examples. Obviously, there's other things going on, but again, I don't think they've gotten any more or any less reliable. I think just with all the added bells and whistles, there's obviously a lot more room for failure. And this goes for all the manufacturers, not just specifically to Honda. The more stuff you add, the more stuff is going to break. That's just, that comes with the territory of, trying to keep up with the Joneses, and all these manufacturers are just trying to, overshine each other. And I think that puts them all in a lot of, bad situations where if they just focus on the core, building a car great and just adding a couple things. A lot of these features we really don't need to drive the car, but I get it. Everyone's trying to outshine each other. So again, more stuff, more things are going to break. It is what it is. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, guys. So last but not least, question of the week is, what is the urgency of a valve adjustment, and when should we be doing them? So typically I like to recommend them around 90 to 100,000 miles. So when I started, the B20s that came in the CRVs, and S2000s that came with the F20s, F22s, they had a lot of issues with valve sinking into the head and eventually burning out the valves. So we're not really seeing that trend now. We did see some early on with the 2013 or so Accords, 2015 CRVs. We saw some, tight valves, a lot of the V6 stuff as well on the J series side. But as of late, I'm going to say within the last 3, 4, 5 years, we haven't really seen any burnt valves or anything like that, or any misfires due to just slightly tight valves from factory. I had a couple cars, we had for a couple months there that we were getting accords with a 5, 6, 7, 8 type valves from factory. So a couple hundred miles on the cars will cold start misfires, and that is no longer the case. So, but you should still do valve adjustments. It's not urgent that you do it exactly at 90 to 100,000 miles, although it is a good idea and good practice. And just make sure if you are doing it with a cold engine. And or if your mechanic's doing it, make sure the engine is cold. If the engine is warm, it's not going to be done correctly or to specification. And I do like to leave them on the looser side. And one of the instructors at Honda once told me loose valve is a happy valve, and that's true because you make it slightly too tight and it's going to misfire. Now, if it's a little bit on the looser side, it might be a little bit loud, but I'd rather have it loud and the engine running perfect versus it being tight and causing misfires, especially cold start misfires, and it eventually leading to potentially a burnt valve or something like that. So again, you don't want to leave it super loose and super sloppy. I just tend to leave it on the bigger gap in spec. So you don't want it to where it's rattling or anything like that. Just leave it on the looser side. And that's how I've done a good 200-300 of them, and I never had any issues with that. So that's going to be it for this week's video, guys. Make sure, again, you guys drop a comment down below, and definitely leave me a comment, any general question or any suggestion for videos in the future. And make sure you guys like the video and just give me a subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I have plenty of information on different ongoing issues right now, bulletins, recalls, DIYs, stuff like that. So with that being said, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.